Capricorn. Take a slow breath with me. If you found this message today, it's not by chance, because right now, your past isn't just a memory, it's knocking. Someone you once trusted, someone who knew your heart, someone who returns at a moment when you finally become stable, grounded, stronger than before. Angel number 222 is surrounding your love life, not to confuse you, but to ask one clear question. Will you open the door, or will you choose yourself this time? Before we go deeper, comment below, "I choose clarity," and stay with me, because this story goes much deeper than you think. Capricorn, stay with me for a moment. There is a quiet stillness around you right now, not the kind that feels empty, but the kind that comes after a long storm. You've lived enough life to recognize this feeling, that pause where your heart finally stops bracing for impact, where you no longer need to prove how strong you are, because strength has already been earned. You don't love the way you used to, not anymore. There was a time when intensity felt like connection, when sacrifice felt noble, when carrying the weight of someone else's emotions felt like loyalty. But life taught you differently, through disappointment, through silence, through nights when you realize peace matters more than passion that burns too fast. And now, here you are, balanced in a way that surprises even you. Not numb, not closed, just clear. The number 222 keeps appearing around your love life for a reason. It's not rushing you, it's not warning you, it's simply holding a mirror in front of your heart. You're not lacking love. You never were. What you lack now is tolerance for repeating the same story, with a different face, with the same ending. There's a subtle moment unfolding inside you, a moment that doesn't announce itself loudly. It feels more like standing in front of a door late at night, hand on the handle, breath steady. You already know what's on the other side. That's what makes this moment different. This isn't about curiosity anymore. It's about choice. You've reached a place where love is no longer about chasing, or fixing, or waiting for someone to become who they promised they would be. Love now feels quieter, wider, more honest. And that can feel unfamiliar, because part of you remembers who you were when love meant survival, when connection felt urgent, when letting go felt impossible. But you're not that person now. You've grown roots, deep ones, in your values, in your boundaries, in the life you're building brick by brick. So when the past stirs, when old emotions whisper your name, it doesn't pull you the way it once did. It pauses you, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You've learned that timing matters, energy matters, and who you are becoming matters more than who you used to be. There's a calm authority in you now, a knowing that doesn't need to explain itself. You understand something deeply, that opening your heart doesn't mean losing yourself, and closing a door doesn't mean failure. It means alignment. And as you stand right here, between memory and possibility, between familiarity and truth, you don't feel rushed, you feel present. And that presence is quietly reshaping everything around you, including what love is allowed to be from this moment forward. So, take a breath, stay right here with this feeling, because something is already responding to the way you're choosing yourself. There's a reason certain people don't just fade into memory. Some connections don't dissolve quietly. They linger, they wait, they circle back when the timing feels different. And for you, Capricorn, this return isn't random. You might notice their energy before their name even crosses your mind. A sudden thought, a familiar emotional weight, a memory that feels warmer than it should. This is someone who once stood close to you, close enough to know your rhythms, your silence, your way of loving without needing to announce it. They return because in their world, something feels unsteady. Life has shifted, certainty cracked, and the ground beneath them no longer holds the way it used to. You represent something they lost, not just love, but structure, safety, a sense of direction they didn't appreciate when it was right in front of them. You were the steady presence, the calm center, the one who showed up even when it was hard. And now, as they look around at what remains, your energy stands out like a lighthouse they ignored once, but suddenly recognize from far away. This doesn't mean they're coming back with clarity, or healing, or all the answers you once waited for. Sometimes people return because they miss the way they felt around you, not because they've done the inner work to stand beside you again, That's an important distinction. And you feel it. You sense the pull, but it doesn't overpower you anymore. It pauses you instead. There's compassion in your awareness now. Not urgency, not longing. You can acknowledge what was real without reopening old wounds. You can hold space for memory without giving it control. And that's growth. The universe doesn't bring the past back to punish you. It brings it back to show you who you've become. This moment isn't asking you to decide quickly. It's asking you to notice. Notice how your body responds. Notice what feels calm versus what feels heavy. Notice whether this presence adds to your life or simply reminds you of who you used to be. You're no longer searching for stability in another person. You carry it within yourself now. That changes everything. So, when someone returns looking for shelter, you're allowed to ask quietly without guilt, are you here because you've grown or because you're afraid to stand alone? There's no judgment in that question, only honesty. And honesty is the new foundation you build from. Right now, your heart isn't closed, it's selective. It understands that familiarity doesn't equal safety, and nostalgia doesn't equal alignment. You don't need to rush this moment. You don't need to explain yourself. You only need to stay present with what you feel. Because as this energy draws closer, something else is already forming around you. A clearer sense of what love should feel like, and what it should never require you to abandon again. You can feel it in the way they approach you now. There is intention in their voice, a seriousness that wasn't there before. They speak about commitment, about making things official, about rebuilding what once fell apart. And for a moment, you might pause. Because part of you remembers wishing for these exact words, back when you were still waiting, still hoping they would choose you fully. But something in you doesn't rush forward anymore. You listen differently now, not just to what they say, but to what lives underneath their words. And beneath that promise of seriousness, you sense a quiet instability. It's not always obvious. Sometimes it shows up as exhaustion behind their eyes. Sometimes as emotional heaviness they can't quite name. Sometimes as a need for reassurance that feels a little too urgent. They want to build again, but they're still standing on uneven ground. You can feel how much they need you. Your steadiness, your clarity, your ability to hold things together when life starts to unravel. And that's where your heart softens and tightens at the same time. Because you care. Because you've always cared. But caring doesn't mean sacrificing yourself anymore. You've learned that love isn't proven by how much weight you can carry for someone else. It's revealed by how two people stand on their own and then choose to stand together. Right now, this person is reaching for you, not just with love, but with their wounds. In Capricorn, you've been that place before. The safe ground, the emotional anchor, the one who stayed strong while someone else searched for balance. You know how that story ends. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. It means they're not fully ready. And you're finally honest enough with yourself to admit that readiness matters. You don't want to become someone's stability again while neglecting your own growth. You don't want to pause your life so someone else can catch up. That chapter taught you a lot. About limits, about self-respect, about how love should feel mutual, not heavy. So, when they speak about being serious now, you don't dismiss it, but you don't absorb it either. You let it rest in the space between you. You ask yourself quieter questions. Does this feel grounded or does it feel familiar? Does this bring peace or responsibility? You notice how your body responds, whether it relaxes or braces. That awareness is new and powerful. You're no longer here to rescue anyone. You're here to share life with someone who has already learned how to stand. And as you sit with this energy, there's no urgency pushing you, just a calm knowing that you can care without carrying, that you can listen without committing, that you can stay kind without stepping backward. And in that quiet confidence, something subtle shifts. Not in them, but in you. A deeper trust in your own timing, and an understanding that love doesn't need to rush when it's built on truth. There's something different about you now. Not in a loud way, not in a way that needs to be explained. It shows up in how you move through your days, in how you pause before responding, in how you no longer rush to fill silence just to feel connected. You've changed, Capricorn. And not because you hardened, but because you finally softened toward yourself. There was a time when love meant endurance, when you believed commitment required sacrifice at any cost, when showing up meant carrying more than your share. You gave without keeping score. You stayed when leaving would have protected you. You believed that if you just held on long enough, things would eventually settle. But experience became your teacher. It showed you how exhaustion disguises itself as devotion, how chaos can pretend to be passion, how losing yourself slowly can feel noble while it's happening. And one day, quietly, you stopped agreeing to that version of love. Now your focus feels steadier, your attention more intentional. You care about where you live, how you spend your time, the kind of life you're building when no one is watching. Stability is no longer boring to you. It's sacred. You know your value now, not because someone finally recognized it, but because you learned to recognize it yourself. And with that knowing came a boundary you don't need to announce. You simply don't step into emotional storms anymore. You don't mistake intensity for intimacy. You don't confuse attachment with love. You've learned that real connection doesn't drain you. It doesn't leave you anxious. It doesn't require you to abandon your peace just to keep someone close. Love that's meant for you meets you where you are. It respects your rhythm. It feels supportive, not demanding. And this is why old patterns feel foreign now. You can sense when something pulls you backward instead of forward. You notice when your body tightens instead of relaxes. You recognize when effort turns into obligation. That awareness didn't come easily. It was earned through disappointment, through choosing yourself even when it felt lonely, through rebuilding after you finally let go of what you once thought you needed. So, when love shows up now, or reappears wearing a familiar face, you don't reach for it out of habit. You check in with yourself first. Does this bring calm? Or does it bring weight? Does this expand your life, or ask you to shrink again? Those questions guide you quietly, without drama, without guilt. And that's the power you carry now. You're no longer loving from survival. You're loving from alignment. You understand that peace is not something you earn after suffering. It's something you protect from the beginning. And as you stand in this grounded version of yourself, something subtle continues to shift around you. The kind of love that finds you now responds to the standards you've set, to the life you're building, to the calm you've claimed as non-negotiable. You don't need to force anything anymore. What's meant to meet you knows where to find you. It's interesting how timing works, isn't it? They don't return when you're struggling. They don't reappear when you're searching. They come back when your life finally feels steady, right when you've built something solid beneath your feet. You can feel it, the quiet pride in how far you've come, the calm rhythm of days that no longer feel like survival, the sense that you're finally creating a life that fits you. And that's when they show up, not crashing in, not dramatic, just close enough to remind you of who they once were to you. You might catch yourself wondering why now? Why not earlier? Why not when you were still figuring things out? The truth is, they're drawn to the version of you that doesn't need them anymore. You've become grounded, rooted, whole in a way that doesn't ask for permission. And that kind of stability is magnetic to someone whose world feels uncertain. Inside you, something stirs, a familiar warmth, a memory of what it felt like when things were simple. There's tenderness there, and that's human. But right alongside it is something else. Awareness, a part of you that stays present, that doesn't drift away into what once was. That notices how your body stays calm instead of leaning forward. This moment holds two truths at the same time. You can feel affection and still protect your future. You can acknowledge the past and still honor who you're becoming. That inner conflict isn't confusion, it's maturity. Because love used to pull you out of alignment. Now it asks you to check in with yourself first. You don't reach for them to feel complete. You don't need reassurance to know your worth. You're not trying to fill an empty space. You've already filled it with your own life. So the question quietly changes. It's no longer, do they want me back? It becomes, does this belong in the life I'm building now? That shift is subtle, but powerful. You're no longer choosing from longing, you're choosing from clarity. And clarity doesn't rush. It observes, it listens. It allows emotions to pass through without letting them take over. You notice how familiar energy can feel comforting, even when it no longer aligns with your direction. You recognize that nostalgia doesn't always mean return. Sometimes it's simply a reminder of how much you've grown. This isn't about shutting your heart, it's about honoring it. You've worked too hard to become this steady to hand that stability to something that might pull you backward. So you stay with the feeling, without judgment, without urgency. You let the moment reveal itself fully, and as you do, something inside you settles even deeper. A knowing that the choices you make now are shaping a future that doesn't require you to abandon yourself. You're not reacting anymore, you're responding. And that quiet strength continues to guide you as the energy around you slowly rearranges to meet the standards you've learned to hold. There's another layer to this energy that you're sensing, and it's subtle. On the surface, they appear sincere. Their tone feels softer, their words more careful. They seem present in a way that once felt missing. But your intuition isn't focused on what's being said. It's listening to what's being held back. You notice pauses that feel weighted, questions that never quite get answered, moments where honesty feels edited. Not because they want to deceive you outright, but because telling the full truth would require facing something they're not ready to face yet. There's fear there, quiet fear. Fear that if you keep moving forward, they won't have a place beside you anymore. You've changed the rhythm of your life. Your priorities are clearer, your direction more defined, and they can feel that distance growing, even if you haven't said a word about it. So they come closer, not always with intention to manipulate, but with a need to remain relevant in your world. That's an important distinction. Some people return because love pulled them back. Others return because they can't stand watching you evolve without them. And Capricorn, you can feel the difference. Love feels expansive. It gives space. It supports growth even when it leads away. Attachment feels tight. It clings. It tries to secure access before clarity arrives. You're wise enough now to recognize when someone wants reassurance more than partnership, when they want closeness without accountability. And still, you don't judge them. You understand that everyone is doing the best they can with the awareness they have. But understanding doesn't mean volunteering yourself as the solution. You've learned that lesson the hard way. You no longer mistake potential for readiness. You no longer accept half-truths just to keep peace. You don't dim your forward motion to make someone else feel safe. And that's where your power truly lives now. You don't need to confront them. You don't need to demand answers. You don't need to expose what you sense. Your clarity is enough. You let actions speak. You let time reveal what words cannot. And if something feels off, you trust that feeling without rushing to fix it. That restraint is new and deeply earned. You've grown into a place where you value transparency over familiarity, where you choose alignment over comfort, where you recognize that love doesn't require access to every part of you. Some doors are meant to remain gently closed, not out of anger, but out of respect for what you're becoming. You're no longer afraid of being misunderstood. You're more interested in being true. And as this energy continues to unfold around you, you stay grounded in your own center. You observe, you feel, you allow, without losing yourself in the process. That balance is your protection now. It keeps you open without being exposed, compassionate without being consumed. And in that steady presence, something important becomes clear. You are not here to pause your growth for anyone. You are here to honor the life you're building, and whatever chooses to walk beside you from here on will need to meet you there. There's a quiet truth settling in you now, one that doesn't need to be announced. You realize that opening your heart doesn't mean opening every door. It never did. For a long time, you believed love required access. Full access, no limits, no walls. But life showed you otherwise. You learned that boundaries are not barriers, they are instructions. They teach people how to love you without harming you. And this time, if you choose to open the door at all, it will be different, not rushed, not emotional, not driven by memory or guilt. You are allowed to let someone back into your space, but not into every part of your life. That distinction matters now. You don't need to surrender control to prove you care. You don't need to lower your standards to keep someone close. You don't need to absorb another person's emotional weight to feel connected. Those patterns belong to an older version of you. The you that stands here now understands something deeply. Love should feel supportive, not consuming. You can be kind without being available at all hours. You can listen without fixing. You can care without carrying what isn't yours. That's not coldness. That's maturity. The door you're standing in front of doesn't swing open the way it used to. It opens slowly now, with intention, with clarity. You decide how close someone gets, how much access they earn, what behavior is welcomed and what is not. And you don't need to justify any of it. The rules have changed because you've changed. You're no longer negotiating your peace for the possibility of love. You're no longer hoping someone will rise to meet you while you bend yourself smaller. You've learned that real partnership meets you where you stand. It respects your pace. It honors your boundaries without testing them. So, if someone wants to return, they don't get the past version of you. They meet the present you, the one who knows their worth, the one who values calm over chaos, the one who chooses stability not out of fear, but out of self-respect. That clarity becomes the new language of your relationships. You don't need to explain it. People either understand it or they slowly drift away from what they can no longer access. And that's okay, because you are not here to be everything for everyone. You are here to live a life that feels honest, balanced, aligned. The door may open, but the terms are yours now. You decide what stays, what goes, what grows. And as you stand in this calm authority, something inside you settles even deeper, a sense of trust in yourself, in your timing, in the knowing that you don't need to rush love for it to be real. Whatever is meant to walk beside you will understand the language you speak now. It's a language built on respect, on clarity, on quiet strength. And as that understanding takes root, the space around you begins to shift, not abruptly, not dramatically, just enough to remind you that the life you're building is responding to the way you've chosen yourself. There is a quiet reassurance surrounding you now. You can feel it in your chest, not excitement, not tension, just a steady sense of being held. This is where the meaning of 222 settles in. It isn't asking you to choose faster. It isn't pressuring you to decide. It's reminding you that you are not alone in this moment. You are protected. Even when things feel uncertain, even when emotions rise and old memories surface. You haven't taken a wrong turn. You didn't miss your chance. You didn't fall behind. Everything that led you here shaped the clarity you carry now. And that clarity is your compass. You notice how your intuition speaks more softly than fear. It doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It simply feels right. You trust yourself in a way you once didn't. Not because life became easier, but because you became more honest with yourself. That trust changes the outcome no matter what you decide. If you choose to open the door, you do it with awareness, with boundaries, with self-respect intact. You don't step backward to make it work. You don't abandon your pace. You don't negotiate your peace. And if you choose to keep the door closed, you do so without bitterness, without regret, because closing a door is not rejection. It's alignment. Either way, you win. That's the part you're finally able to see. This moment isn't about saving a connection. It's about honoring yourself. You're no longer here to repeat lessons. You've already learned them. You don't love blindly anymore. You love consciously. You don't confuse longing with truth. You listen for calm, for steadiness, for mutual effort. And that shift protects your heart more than any wall ever could. There's pride in what you've become. Quiet pride. Not the kind that needs validation. The kind that comes from knowing you stayed true to yourself even when it was difficult. You didn't betray your values for comfort. You didn't silence your intuition for familiarity. You grew. And growth doesn't disappear just because someone from the past reappears. You are not the same person they once knew, and you are not required to be. What matters now is that you feel grounded in your choice, not rushed, not pressured, just aligned. As this energy settles around you, there's a gentle sense of completion, not an ending, but a knowing that whatever happens next will meet you at the level you now stand. You've earned this calm, this clarity, this confidence, and as the night grows quieter, you rest in the understanding that your heart is no longer something to gamble with. It's something you honor. You move forward knowing this. You are protected, you are guided, and you are choosing from wisdom now, and that makes all the difference. As we come to rest here together, notice how calm feels different now. Not empty, not uncertain, but earned. You didn't rush this message. You didn't force clarity. You allowed it to arrive in its own time, and that's the Capricorn way. What surprised you tonight wasn't the past returning. It was realizing how little power it has over you now. That's growth. You don't need to know every answer tonight. You only need to trust the one voice that never left you, your own. If this message resonated, take a moment and comment below, "I trust myself," not for me, for you. And if you feel called to stay connected, subscribe and stay close. This space was built for Capricorn souls who are done rushing and ready to live with intention. The journey doesn't end here. It simply becomes clearer. Another message is already forming, another insight, another quiet confirmation that you are exactly where you need to be. Until then, walk gently with yourself, hold your boundaries with grace, and remember, the strongest choices are the ones that feel calm.